and welcome to Adelaide Oval for Willow Talk Extras. Wrapping up day one of the second test. Izzy Westbury here, Callum Ferguson, Brad Haddin, Hads. Who won the day?
Well, there's a number of people who won today. First and foremost, the day was won by the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
How good was it, Callum? There was 50,000 people here. Izzy, did you spend time out the back? It does not get any better than out the back. I can smell it on your two breath, actually.
Hey, excuse me.
But if we're going to go back to the cricket, it wasn't boring. It didn't get overshadowed by the crowd. Mitch Starc got a wicket first ball. Young Nathan McSweeney had the hardest possible debut, and it got harder today. He was batting at one stage, facing Bumrah, the ball swinging, under lights. The lights go off, and he's still there. So Australia win for me.
Yeah, they do. I mean, this is one of the hardest tests to cover because it's a day-night test. Everyone's getting on it. You're in the Adelaide Hills. You've got the reds flowing.
How do you want it?
No, I'm ever the professional. Ever the professional.
True, very true.
I mean, you see me when I'm sober. Anyway. I'll take you through a summary of the day to start with. So India won the toss, as they did in the first test, elected to bat. There were three changes, as we thought there would be. I think Rohit Sharma, captain, coming back in. Shubman Gill, we know he really fancies number 3. And then Ashwin, perhaps the more surprising, but he's very good at the pink ball. They were in for Padikkal, Jurel and Sundar. Mitch Starc, well, we know he's good with the pink ball, but he took a wicket with the very first ball. I mean, I genuinely, PTSD, first ball, leg stump. I mean, it's happened before.
Rory
happened
Burns,
again.
that's it.
Oh, really? Yeah, remind me, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go through it in detail if you want.
So got Jar as well. Of course, he made 160 in the second innings of the last match. And then, Starc got 5 more, finished with career best figures. I mean, how do you get career best figures with the pink ball when he seems to get them every time he plays? Anyway, 6 for 48 were his figures. India rolled for 180, almost similar to the first test in which they were rolled for 150. It meant that at tea, Australia came out to bat. And I at least thought, oh dear, here we go again. But in reply, they lost Usman Khawaja early, Nathan McSweeney and Marnus Labuschagne. Here at the end, 10 o'clock at night, an unbeaten 62-run partnership. My goodness me, what a day. Not quite 17 wickets, though, only 11. A bit sedentary, really, no?
Yeah, somewhat. I felt like it was all for Australia to do today. Coming in under pressure, poor loss over in Perth. India buoyed by an amazing win. It was all there for Australia to respond, and they did in a big way. And I thought the way Mitch Starc has started today's game, wicket first ball, has pretty much replicated exactly what he's done all summer so far. Hasn't missed a line and length in his first over of the game, and that's something that's been a struggle for him at times. But he just hit the nail on the head from ball one. Bit of a partnership from India. Are Australia wobbling? No. Starc comes back in, and it was a nice piece of work from Pat Cummins to bring him on, but he did the job, and then Australia put the foot on the throat, didn't let go, and very mature innings from Nathan McSweeney in a very early stage of his career. It was wonderful to watch.
Well, it does seem to be like a wicket off the first ball from, or at least the first over from Mitch Starc opening over is a trademark of his. Boland, on the other hand, had no ball wicket. Bring back memories of Ben Stokes or somebody out there.
It actually brings back some really, really good memories.
For some.
It was Ben Stokes' debut test, and that's what we all thought it was about. But I remember getting nicked off by a no ball from Ben Stokes. I was walking halfway off, the hill went nuts.
This ground as well, yeah.
I remember this like it happened
yesterday.
And the hill went nuts, and I thought, you know what, the Barmy Army's not over that side. That's Australian supporters. They all had their Travis Head sunglasses on. They cheered. I looked up on the board. I was back, and I was lucky enough to make 100. But what I liked about today is, Mitchell Starc got a wicket first ball. There was 3 changes in the Indian team which strengthened their team. The captain came back, Gill came back, looked outstanding. Ashwin come back, we know he's good. But did it affect the way India played? Because there's a moment there in the batting where it was a contest. He was bowling his 6th over, he just got a wicket, Bumrah, and all of a sudden him and Marnus Labuschagne, they were at each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I reckon if he was captain, he would have bowled another couple of overs there. Marnus was still on naught. There was a contest on. He was gesturing to him. Marnus was back. And all of a sudden, everyone got in the front of their seats and he was taken off. Yeah. Siraj come on, good bowler. But I tell you what, Ferg, you played a lot of cricket here.
Oh, yeah.
Izzy, you've watched a lot. I reckon if he was still captain, he would have bowled a couple more overs at Marnus.
I don't disagree with you. And particularly on a surface like this, he challenges the stumps.
Yep.
And that is just something that I think India really struggled with tonight.
Yeah.
And they probably could have done with him bowling a lot more than he did. And yes, he bowled a decent first spell, but I agree with you. He bowled some significant spells in that last Test match and kept charging through when the moment required it. And he didn't so much tonight on the back of a different captain, perhaps. But the Indians missed an opportunity tonight. There was plenty of movement out there. We saw it from Mitch Starc. They had a chance to use that movement and do some damage, and they couldn't hit the stumps to save themselves.
And that is the key question. Did India waste the new ball? I think I saw a graphic at 23 overs. They'd only hit the stumps, or the balls would only be tracking to hit the stumps 5% of the time. And I think, to be honest, as the match went on, they bowled, 30 overs in the end. It probably was even lower. So was it a waste, Hads?
Well, you can say that. I'm going to go the other way, actually. I'm going to make it all about Marnus and Nathan McSweeney at the end today. Yes, we can talk about India. India didn't hit the stumps enough. That's as simple as that. They didn't hit the stumps, and that's the big strength of Bumrah. But these two guys were under the most pressure leading into this game. So they came out to bat. It could not have been a better time for the bowlers. McSweeney is opened in this is only his second test. I love the way they played. Marnus took, I think, 17 balls to get off the mark. But I wasn't worried about it as much as I was worried about it in the first test because he had intent. He was trying to score. He was in a contest. His feet were sharp. And today, to get through that situation, we're 1 for 80 odd now. I'm going to give all the credit to the Aussies there because that was a tough session.
It's a cliche, isn't it? You almost say a batter is busy. But the real difference between the first test when he came out and said, I wanted to be like Pujara, and he got 2 off 50. Whereas here you felt that intent with every single ball. And it didn't take long, did it, Ferg, for that kind of feverish atmosphere where a wicket could have fallen every ball, for that pressure to get back on the India fielders.
You know what's interesting? It was really early in both McSweeney and Labuschagne's partnership. But it was a couple of plays and misses from Marnus where he was trying to get his cut shot into the game. That was a good sign for me. Yeah. Yes, it was a play and a miss, and maybe he could have nicked it. But if it's short and wide, you've got to play your cut shot. I mean, you just got to get into the game. You've got to look to score. And that was a really good sign, I think. And then from there, he managed to get his drives into the game. Started off, within himself, easing them through the covers. But by the back end of the innings, he started to get a few coming back a bit straighter. By showing intent, bowlers will miss. If you allow them to bowl to you all day looking to leave everything, you invite pressure.
So some really good intent, a really good result so far from Australia's batters. They've got the deficit down to under 3 figures, 9 wickets still in the tank, but they had to get there first.
Yes.
And they had to roll India, relatively speaking, but get them out for 180. And again, another cliche, catches win matches, but McSweeney again, young into his career, it was KL Rahul diving forward at gully, and that sparked a collapse of 4 for 18. Was that a key moment in the day, Cal?
Yeah, absolutely. And Hads and I talk a lot about this. It's a real key for Hads when it comes to the fielding side of things. You can have an impact and you can change a game by pulling off something special. And when you're at gully and you see a guy jump onto the back foot, I've spent some time at gully myself throughout my career. When you see someone jump onto the back foot, instinctively, it then becomes very hard to come forward because you're expecting a cut shot, something forceful. It wasn't forceful at all. It ballooned off the bat somewhat low to his right and a fair way from him. He had to make good ground forward. That's as tough a catch as you'll get, especially in the gully when someone's loading up to play a big shot off the back foot. It sparked a collapse, and we so often see something special in the field do that, whether it's a run out or a catch.
There was another moment to me that also turned the game, is when Nathan Lyon came on to bowl. And Nathan Lyon's been one of the best exponents of the pink ball test match out of everyone. Spinners, early doors in pink ball test matches, hard to see the seam. And Nathan Lyon capitalised for a long time. He's got the most wickets of this venue. He bowled 1 over. Next over, they got a wicket. And Paddy Cummins goes, you know what? This is the moment in the test. Got Nathan Lyon off, brought the quicks back, and that started that roll on. They eventually bowled India out. So what they did really well today, they pounced on the moment. So they were up for the contest. There was a bit of swagger about the Aussies when they were in the huddle. And young Rayner as well came out to bat to Starc. He gave him a little bit of lip in the first test. Starc got into him, knocked his stumps over, and that's just a little bit of the old bull saying, hey, you might have won 1 test, but we're here for the contest.
Absolutely, and we are in the country of fine wines, and a fine wine aging pretty well. Mitchell Starc, we think that the pink ball is his format, but he's getting better and better. Career best test figures, 6 of 48. What can this man not do?
Well, I actually reckon Mitchell Starc is bowling as well as he ever has from the start of the summer. There was the second innings of the Shield game against Victoria. New South Wales behind in the game. Starkey took the handbrake off, went after the Vicks, and since then he was outstanding when he played the white ball stuff, and he's taken that over into the Test match.
I mean, Callum, all the talk after the Perth Test was that, did Australia have an ageing bowling lineup? Hazelwood's out. I mean, that's being reversed now.
Well, I'll tell you what, they jumped quickly, didn't they, some of the media? And it's easy to do. I mean, Australia very rarely show weakness in the armour or a chink in the armour at home. And yes, maybe they did show a little bit of that. There's not too many high-class, elite levels of sport where the top dogs don't have a bad day from time to time. It seems like the Australians were able to put it to bed, talk about it, assess it, and then come back refreshed for the next test. They had a decent break. It's not always easy to do that, but they did. And they've come out, hit the ground running. Starkey led the charge, no doubt. From first ball, ran in, hit the nail on the head. It's not easy to do. They've bounced back beautifully, and you've got to say, you feel like Australia are right back in the series now. Oh,
absolutely. And I think maybe India coming into this a little bit complacent, 295-run victory. But one man in the Indian camp who wasn't complacent, who I've been enjoying watching all throughout this series so far, Nitish Kumar Reddy. God, the stroke play on him.
Well, I tell you what, he's in the team to play that exact role. And I think he actually played the role fitting today to what the circumstance of the game. Once they got 5 down, it wasn't a surface and a test match just to try to get through to stumps and maybe get a 220 day. Because the pink ball test, he threw his hands at it, got out. Yes, they got to 180. He got a good 40, but they gave India the opportunity to get themselves right back into the game with the ball. So he played some smart cricket there to understand the circumstances and understand how different a pink ball test is.
We're going to get into the secret cricket club questions in a moment, but just a final one, Cal. End of day one, still possibly 4 more days to play. India, how do they feel at the end of this day? Frustrated? Is that the best way to sum it up?
Flat as a pancake. I think they had every opportunity.
Tell us what you really think.
Callum.
But they were so far ahead of the series coming in today. That was a real drubbing over in Perth. There's no doubt about it. And Australia, that's as vulnerable, I reckon, as we've seen an Australian side on home soil for a while. But to see Australia flip it so quickly within 1 day, it's quite remarkable. And India will probably feel like they've missed a huge opportunity to keep the foot on the throat, and Australia have flipped the script.
All right, the Secret Cricket Club questions then, and there's some pertinent ones here. Edward asks, what have the Aussies changed since Perth to cope with Bumrah and Siraj?
Well, they've got a game plan. The one thing that they came out today, they wanted to show positive intent. They looked to score every opportunity they could. They didn't want to spend too much time down at Bumrah's end. They wanted to change. So the big thing that they did, they showed intent. They had a game plan, to me, not to get LB or bowled. If they happened to get nicked off, that was okay, but they had a plan not to let him hit the pads or the stumps.
Really interesting question here. Shannon asks, is there ever a thought to not try and take the final wickets when you're under lights so as not to expose batters to the movement of the ball? Interesting one.
It's a very interesting question. I mean, I've played in a Shield game where Stephen Smith declared the New South Wales innings closed 7 down to give their New South Wales quicks a crack at us for 45 minutes. So that's something we've never seen before, really, in Shield cricket. So in Test cricket, you've got to think that the same conversations are happening, but not when you're in the field. Whenever you're out there, you're trying to take the wickets as quickly as possible. So, look, I'll say no to that. I think they're going to go out there and try and attack from ball 1 and then get the stick in their hand as quickly as possible.
Ben asks, why does Boland look Australia's most dangerous bowler on a pitch that bounces true or are flat?
Go again. I just got a bit jumpy with the
I don't blame you.
us.
What was that?
We've been chucked out of the ground, so we're standing next to
the
lift, the bins, and a slightly inebriated crowd walking out. So it's going to be a bit interesting on the mic. Ben asks, why does Boland look Australia's most dangerous bowler on a pitch that bounces true or are flat?
He owns the stumps. As simple as that. He's one of those bowlers that just does enough with the ball. He doesn't do over. He hasn't got the big swing of Starc or the big seam of Paddy Cummins, but he does enough. He just hits the stumps. He asks questions of the batter's defence every ball, and he's actually, he doesn't give you anything free to hit.
A wonderful insertion into the team. And it's been a good day for Australia, but Dan does ask, I love Izzy, but his fielding is killing us. Why can't we move him out of slips, Cal?
Well, it seems like it's the position that he wants in the team, and it's not always easy to find first slippers, so perhaps they still see him as the number one option. It seems like he's having trouble with the low ball at the moment in slip, and that can be a sign that you're getting a little bit older. I found the low balls tougher as I got older at first slip while I was still in my playing days. So it's a tricky one, because if you've got guys that aren't as capable at catching general balls all around the area that you're going to receive at first slip, then he might still be the best option. But those low balls are a weak spot for him, and that's something that's going to be tough as he gets older. The flexibility doesn't come to you as easily, Hads, does it? So that's the problem he's having at the moment. It's something he's going to have to work really hard on. It seems like we just don't have another option, someone that's comfortable to go in there.
Talking about players getting older, and this seems a bit sharp, Matt asks, is Virat Kohli past it? And will he retire in the next 2 years?
Oh, well, I don't think he's past it. He's had a lean run. He's been a superstar of the game for a good part of, or over a decade now.
Yeah.
We've seen in Perth that he's still got that one big innings in him, but is he on the decline? I think so. I think we've seen over the last 2 years he hasn't had as much dominance on test matches as he has in the past.
Last one then, and I think you might have a few answers to this one, Hads. Braden asks, who let Dizzy near the lights after a few schooners?
No.
You know what? I know what happened with the lights today.
So just so the listener knows, the lights went off, twice in the middle of play for no apparent reason, but Hads, tell us it is.
I was speaking to the ground staff, and it was all about Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon went out the back for a hit, and they went to turn the lights on, and whatever happened, they turned the wrong set off, and the lights went off, and Nathan Lyon said, I've got to fix this so I can go out and bat in the nets, and they politely said to Nathan, the lights are off on the ground, we're not so worried about your hit at the moment. So that's come hot off the press from the curators.
Come on, guys.
Goodness me, he might just have one over on Marnus Labuschagne. That's what I thought he was doing. You heard it here first. The lights went off at Adelaide Oval, and it was all Nathan Lyon's fault. I'm Izzy Westbury, Callum Ferguson, Brad Haddin, and this is Willow Talk Extra. Good night from us.
Keep it real.